All right. Thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, as always, and with me is my good friend Dustin. How are you doing, Dustin?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I'm just going to start off with this podcast and just say that this one was a chore. I felt like this is the one where we did work.
Yeah, it definitely took some effort.
Yeah, we put in the work for our listeners, and you guys are welcome. I'm just going to start with that. So we watched Planet of the Apes, the 1968 Charlton Heston classic, and we watched the 2001 Tim Burton remake, which, doing my research online, seemed to confuse everybody who've ever watched this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people do not understand that movie.
It's Tim Burton movie?
The Tim Burton one.
It makes very little sense.
It makes very little sense in the fact that the main thing that people don't understand is that twist ending, and they just did that because they needed their Statue of Liberty scene.
Yeah, it really didn't make any sense, though.
No, it didn't. And I've got a lot of problems with the science, as you know, as all of our listeners know, after doing the Thing episode and one other episode. I am an amateur scientist.
Not a professional.
Not a professional. I have not done science for money. But I will have some grievances with the science in this movie. Both of these movies, eventually. So, what are your feelings with these movies? Like, what's the history, like your relationship with Planet of the Apes, Dustin?
I really have very little connection to them. I think that my dad liked them, and I remember them being on, like, TBS or something when I was little, and, you know, he would, like, try to get me to watch it with him, and, like, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I just didn't care about what was happening on the screen. Maybe I was too little to really care about it. I remember not really liking the makeups in the original one.
The original ones, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just kind of remember even as a child, like, seeing through it, you know? Like,
yeah.
I couldn't suspend my disbelief for the apes in the original one.
It's the mouth. The mouths are weird.
It's actually way better in the Tim Burton one. Those costumes are amazing.
They're amazing.
But, no, I have no real personal connection to it or any real love for the franchise at all. I guess I like that they kind of, like, made fun of the costumes on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, yeah, totally. I have a similar experience with these movies. My dad loved the original ones. There's 5 movies in the original series, which is crazy. And they start off as pretty straightforward, and then they get really weird, and they start involving time travel and going into the past, and it gets really convoluted. But basically, my dad loved these movies, and like your dad made me watch it every time it was on TV. So
my dad made you watch it?
like you,
that bastard.
Your dad. I actually sat there and
I knew he had a secret family.
But my dad made me watch these movies too, and my dad loved them. I remember at some point when I had a job and could afford to get like my own Christmas gifts for like my family, I bought him the box set of all 5 of the original movies. And I remember he made us go see the Tim Burton one in theaters. My dad was super excited for that movie. So I know we saw it, and then I think we rented it once, and then he was just like, well, we're never going to watch this again. But yeah, I remember liking the 2001 Mark Wahlberg Tim Burton one. As, you know, that came out when I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So I thought that one was cool back then, but we'll talk about what we think now in just a bit. I already said it was work, so I think that's kind of a clue. So why don't you summarize the first movie? Actually, you know what? Let's figure out our criteria before we wander. What are we going to talk about?
I mean, I think we can talk about like the costumes and the design of the world. They're pretty different.
The male leads, the Charlton Heston, Mark Wahlberg characters.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I guess the main apes.
Yeah, those will lump into characters. And maybe just the technology. I don't know. There's very different technology going on in these movies.
Yep. The worlds were drastically different. I think we'll just use that as a skeleton for the conversation and flesh it out.
Yeah.
So,
so the original 68 one, Charlton Heston plays Taylor, an astronaut. He also got a crew of other dudes. I don't remember their names, but there's a couple
Landon
of other...
and Dodge.
Oh, okay. And they're like in hibernation when their ship crashes on the planet. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They make their way out of the capsule. They get into a raft for a little while. They kind of make their way like through some canyons and whatnot, and all the while, Charlton Heston is just kind of being a dick to these guys.
He's definitely a dick.
Like, it doesn't make any sense why he's so mean to his own dudes. Like,
he's a dick and a half.
I feel like if you're like with a group of dudes who you've already been traveling through space with, like, is he a dick to them on the spaceship too? Like, it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't immediately try to like get along and survive in this situation.
Especially like they're doing like a colonization mission.
Yeah.
Which is weird with 3 dudes and 1 female who died. Like her cryo sleep just didn't work.
Yeah.
You're gonna like they at one point they call her their Eve, which is fucked up.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's really weird. But at least there's gonna be some like mixed race babies because there's Dodge.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just like a dick the entire time. Like he's just like, she was the most important thing on that craft. She was our Eve, and like he's not even like emotional about it. He's just like very matter of fact that like the chick he was gonna get a plow is dead.
She's gone. It's like maybe he blames them. I don't know. He's got a weird attitude about it. He's just super mean to them.
And he's like, he does that maniacal laugh when they find when the guy like plants the flag. Yeah, like it like zooms out. You just see him like looking up in the sky, like like an evil laugh. I don't know, man.
Why? Anyway, whatever. So they do that. They don't know if there's any life on the planet, and then they find like a plant and kind of like an oasis. And then they find like some people, like some savage.
You see them tight
humans.
buns in that scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of buns. Yeah, and then they find some people like running around, savage people, and then they're attacked by the apes, and they get taken prisoner. And I guess these apes have, like,
guns.
I want to say, yeah, they have guns and carts with horses and photography.
Yeah, totally. But, like, old school, like, Civil War era photography.
Yeah, but they have it. So
yeah.
I guess they know how to do some stuff, but it's just kind of a weird mishmash of technologies that they have access to, which I found strange. And then they bring him back.
Don't forget he got shot.
Oh yeah, he
got
shot
neck.
in the throat or something.
Yeah.
He's fine though. He just can't talk.
He can't talk for like 20 minutes of the movie.
God, this is taking forever. Just summarizing this movie is work. Oh my god, Jesus. So then they bring him back. Who is there? Zira and Cornelius, like a nice ape woman,
science couple,
and archaeologist. They find him, and there's like somewhat friendly towards humans, I guess. Like they don't think they're just stupid animals. What is it then? Eventually, they like stage an escape to the Forbidden Zone. I'm sure I'm skipping over a bunch of nonsense I don't really care about. They go to the Forbidden Zone, and they find out that like humans had been there first, or at least had been a more advanced civilization at one time, and there's much argument, and then we get to the Statue of Liberty scene on the beach, and more screaming and more insanity from Charlton Heston.
More, I mean, man, that was expertly summarized. Like, you got the meat and bones, man. I'm proud of you.
I'm tired.
Yeah, me too.
I hope I never have to do that again.
Oh, you're gonna do it in a few minutes when we move to the other one.
Oh God.
I'm just kidding. I can do the other one if you want. So yeah, like this movie is really weird. So I think we should just dive into Charlton Heston's character Taylor. Like the movie opens with him doing this like weird monologue on space travel and relativity and how traveling at the speed of light is they're going to age significantly slower than their human counterparts on Earth. And it's like a good 4 or 5 minute speech on the science of speed of light and everything like that. So that's a little weird, like just a weird way to start the movie. Like that's your cold open.
Yeah, talking to himself.
Yeah,
talking to the ship's log.
The ship's computer. And then, which anybody who'd be listening to that log would already know that shit.
Yeah, and also like the whole time he's like mixing up like his injection to put him to sleep or whatever. Smoking a cigar on the spaceship, which is probably not a good idea, but okay. And also just being like so like I don't know, man, just like aloof and shitty, like just like a know-it-all. I don't know. I didn't like him. I didn't like him at
No,
all.
so like when they're walking around with him, Landon, and Dodge, Landon is very obviously distraught. Like he's just like, what is going on? And Dodge is like, you know what? We need to figure out what's going on. So like Dodge is going through and taking soil samples to figure out, if this place could sustain life. And they're in an area that we find out later is like radioactive, and that's why they don't find any life immediately. And then Landon is just like, man, this really sucks. What's going on? Where are we? And Taylor, who's like just very, it's like, we're somewhere between Betelgeuse and like this star. We're 2,000 years in the future and 300 and something light years away. Blah 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 blah. And he's just like, there, I've told you where we are. And he's like, well, that's not good enough. And he's like, what do you want from me? I've told you exactly where we are. Well, first off, no, you haven't. And secondly, like, why are you being a condescending prick?
You have no way of knowing any of this. You're just making up shit, you crazy asshole.
And like,
I would
clearly
be so
something
pissed
happened.
if I would crash on a planet with this fool.
Oh man, like clearly your system malfunctioned. You have no idea and he ended up being wrong. Like,
also, dude, you were the guy that I presume put it into autopilot and set it all up,
right?
Like you're the guy that fucked us, okay?
And they didn't show anything like a meteor or like a little space rock hitting them or a storm that sends them off. So like, you could say that it was probably incompetence. You don't really know.
It's pilot error.
And then like he's obviously the leader. So at one point, like I already mentioned him like making fun of Landon for like doing like a little tiny grave for I think the female's name was Charlotte or something like that. He makes like a little mound, puts a flag in it. He just like does that maniacal laugh. And then they're like, he's like, well, we should go. They're like, which way? And he was like, that way. They're like, why? He's like, for no particular reason. I just want to go that way. And
yeah,
like,
he says it to them.
Yeah,
for no reason at all. Like he's like, it's cool that he has no idea where he's going.
And then just to show like how much more of a dick he is, like later on, they go and when they come across the humans, so they go skinny dipping, and like the humans take their clothes and all their like tools and stuff like that, and it's weird. That scene is a little weird because like they get out of the water to investigate a footprint, and Landon and Dodge are crouched, and then he just stands upright, like, so their heads are right at his like dick level, like his dick is right in their face, just swinging around. And like they're just like saying it's a little weird. There's an awkward staging.
All of it's weird. He's just terrible to them.
And then
go ahead.
Sorry. So they go and find the people, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And he's like, "Look at the bright side. This is the best they got, and we'll be running this place soon." Like he's like gotta like just be their leader and take over that tribe. Like that's his first thought about seeing people is not like, "Oh, where are we? Is this another planet where life exists, like humans existed?" Because it's supposed to be 2,000 years in the future. Like maybe other astronauts colonize this planet first. Like his mind doesn't go there at all. It's just like, I'm gonna be the king.
I'll rule them all.
What a fuck,
dick.
So
bitch.
And then the way he interacts with the apes, like he's very like once he figures out how to talk and once he can talk again, he's very much like just a dick to the apes. And now, granted, the apes are using like humans as like slave culture and stuff like that.
Sure.
But he's just like, I'm a human. I'm better than you. And it's like, in this world, you're not, man.
No.
Like, clearly you're not. And they captured you more than once.
Yeah. Oh, you're so awesome.
Like you escaped and you got captured, what, twice?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like, fuck you, man. You're not that hot.
No, and like when he's trying to write in the sand, because he can't talk, and like he
the other apes wipe it, or not that?
No, the other humans like wipe it. Like, the
out.
woman wipes it away, and so does like that other guy, and he like throws the girl around and starts kicking that dude.
He beats the shit out of like 5 humans. Before like the apes get in there and like calm him down, and then Dr. Zaius, the orangutan guy, like sees it and he like wipes the rest of it out. And then later on, like they have this whole court scene. And he does the classic 60s, 70s, 80s acting where he's like, quiet, quiet, angry, quiet, angry.
Yeah.
And he's just like being a condescending prick the entire time versus trying to be like, why don't we work together and see what we can learn, blah, blah, blah. He's just like, I'm better than you guys. Like, fuck you guys. Let me out.
He's awful.
Kind of thing. And it's like, you're an idiot. Like, that's not how you get out of there. And then he's also like, feels like he owns Nova, that brunette chick.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is smoking hot.
Super hot.
So he like, she is put in his cage as like a reward because Ari wants him to like mate with her, and feel like she gave him something as a reward so he'd actually talk, because at first they think he's mimicking speech versus actually being able to be intelligent. And he just decides like she's his property. Like throughout the rest of the movie, he's like dragging her around, and like they go to escape with him, and he's like, I'm taking her with me. And like it was Cornelius and Ari's nephew who comes and rescues him.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go. And he goes, no, I'm taking her. He's like, well, we don't have enough food and stuff for her. And he's like, she's mine. I'm taking her. It's like, God damn, dude.
You
like,
suck.
This is 60s chauvinism at its finest.
Yeah, and also you suck at even getting rescued, man.
Yeah, man, just fucking go.
You suck at everything.
You don't even know this bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus. All right. So talking about the apes real quick. So you had Ari and Cornelius. Ari was a human analyst. I don't remember what she actually said. Human sociologist or social therapist or something like that. And then Cornelius was the archaeologist. And he found like a year prior like evidence that humans were here first, or at least another type of ape species was there first. And Dr. Zaius was like trying to keep him from doing more research because he knows what's up. And all the and even within the apes, they were like super classist. Like you had the orangutans, which were on top. You had the gorilla-like ones were the soldiers. And then for some reason, chimpanzees are considered like the lowest form. But in reality, like chimpanzees and orangutans are like the two smartest like apes. Like they are the ones that we associate with intelligence in real life. Yeah. And it's weird that the chimpanzees would be like the lowest form of life on that planet other than humans.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, even Ari and Cornelius are still think they're superior to Charlton Heston's character. Yeah. Throughout the entire movie, they're just like, oh, it must be some sort of mutation. He's the missing link, you know, and they keep trying to like explain things to him. Like they're superior than him. And every step of the way, like he shows that he's equally their match. And then like they do that scene where they go into the cave and they find like all the their relics, and it's like, this is a heart valve and these are eyeglasses and here's a baby doll that can talk, you know, kind of thing. And it was just, I don't know, this movie was pretty boring.
It was very boring. Very.
Like, I don't know, man. Like
I have no connection to it. Like I have no reason, you know, I have no sentimental attachment to it to try to defend it, even as like a piece of popular culture. Like I just don't care.
Like for the 60s, I can see why those costumes were pretty good. Like the eyes and the hair and the ears looked fine, but those mouths just flopped around. Like when they would open, like you can see them, like they'd have to have some slack on it so they can actually move, and it would bunch up all weird. Like they didn't look like mouths.
You know, another thing too that like I felt like the actors in the Tim Burton one were still doing like ape like movements. You know, like they were still.
Yeah, they were doing they were waddling a little bit.
They were walking a little bit different. They were like touching each other's hands, you know, or like each other's chests, or like doing like.
And they jump back if something surprised them.
Yeah, and this they were just like people in suits.
Yeah,
people in ape suits.
With the 2001 one, with what you just touched on, I have problems with that as well. Like I appreciate them like jumping back and the touching and like their weird foreplay that they had in that one weird sex scene. But I also have. Yeah, it was super hot. It was like bordering on Howard the Duck, like boobs.
Super hot.
But I did have some issues, which we'll get into a little bit later. But you kind of touched on the technology. Like, you want to talk about the technology in the world. Like, this one was interesting. Like, they had guns.
Yeah.
And they had horses. And they had, you know...
Carts
and stuff like that.
Cameras.
It was a pretty backward... Yeah, it didn't make sense that they had photography. Now, granted, it was like old school photography, you know, pinhole camera, probably like...
Sure, but why? Why did it even happen?
Where did they get that stuff? Like, how did they figure out that's the way to do it? Like, somebody would have had to do it. And then they had this whole, like, religion, and they don't really go into the origin too much of the apes. Like, they do mention that there were some apes that at one point became pets. Actually, I don't even know if they explain this in the movie. I know what happened, but basically in a nutshell... Like, there's a point where, like, there's a virus that kills cats and dogs, so humans start using apes as pets. Oh. And then eventually they start, like, training them to do, you know, like, housework and field work and stuff like that, and so they basically become slaves. So they get a little bit smarter, and then there's an uprising, like, thousands of years prior. But what ended up happening, I guess there was, like, some war or something like that, and the humans nuked the planet, and somehow they evolved backwards to not being able to speak, and they're all mutes, and the apes... spoke and got, you know, technology and can walk upright. And I actually have a huge problem with this because this is supposed to be 2,000 years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making a big push for evolution. Like, I don't know if like one of the directors or writers is like really into science, because even in the 60s, a lot of schools, they didn't want to teach evolution. They just thought it was wrong.
Even
and
now
weird.
they don't, man.
A lot, yeah. Well, those people are idiots.
There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of idiots. I agree. But in this one, like, even if you accept that evolution is the thing, which I do, it takes way longer than 2,000 years to get from being a chimpanzee to an upright human, like basically just like a furry human with weird features. Like, there's no way in 2,000 years.
Well, maybe the radiation.
That's the only thing that I can think of is that potentially caused it. It was them being irradiated, and they just like, instead of getting like
but I shouldn't have to do that work as the
viewer.
I
I shouldn't have to think about that. You shouldn't have to.
It's not my job to write.
Somebody
this movie.
watching this movie 50 years later should not be writing the movie.
No, that's my biggest problem with the whole damn thing.
So like that doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about this movie. Like, I can see why in the 60s people would have liked it. Like, the special effects were pretty amazing, and everyone liked Charlton Heston. He was the man's man and everything like that. But
he's the asshole man's man.
He's the asshole's man.
I wouldn't have liked him then. I don't like him now.
No, I don't really have much more to say about this movie. Like, there's some great one-liners in this movie that have been in like the top 100 quotes in cinema. Like, so they do have that one where he's like, "Get your damn hands off me, you dirty ape," Yeah. And that one's huge. And then of course at the end, like, "You finally did it, you maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you! Damn you all to hell!" Like, that's been spoofed in so many things.
Yeah. And
like, they did some clever stuff in this movie. Like, there's a point where they do like the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah.
I don't know if in the trial, like, you see one orangutan's got his hands over his eyes, and that was pretty interesting. And this movie, like, behind the scenes, had a lot of weird shit going on.
Yeah.
Like, Charlton Heston had the flu during the entire shoot, and like they kept him sick because they liked how his voice was gravelly.
Okay.
Instead of just letting him get better and just like, "Hey, do that voice." So he was sick almost the entire shoot. And then Linda Harrison, who played Nova, the super hot, primitive woman, she actually had an affair with the producer and got pregnant before the movie started filming. And so, like, by the end of the movie, she was showing they had to do some stuff, but like, she totally just got that part because she was banging the producer.
Well, good for her.
Yeah. And then, like, they got married. Like, he left his wife when the baby was born.
Damn.
And then, like, married her for like 3 years or some shit like that.
Damn.
It's pretty fucked up. But that's it.
That's more interesting than the movie.
Yeah. That's it. Done.
All right. Well, Planet of the Apes. Original.
Planet of the Apes, 1968.
Not that fun.
All right. So, Dustin, did you know this was based off a book? Like a French book?
I did know that.
I don't know if it's on Audible, but if anyone wants to check out Audible, they can see if it's on there. And
you could see if it is available on Audible.
And if it is, and you're interested in listening to it, you guys can get that book for free.
What?
Free. Totally free.
It's probably better than this movie.
Probably. I actually know a little bit about the book. It sounds pretty interesting. I might check it out. But we have partnered up with Audible to give our listeners a free 30-day trial. I almost said 30-month. Free 30-day trial, not 30-month.
Not 30 months.
30 days. And you get one free book, and you guys can check it out. If you really like it, keep it. If you don't, you can cancel the service, and you get to keep that free book. But it's really awesome. I'm like 3/4 of the way done with it, and I'm really, really liking it. I'm probably going to check out another book pretty soon. But yeah, check it out. Support a really great company, and support hopefully one of your favorite podcasts. And that's it. Thank you guys for checking that out. All right. So we are going to be talking about the second movie, the 2001 Tim Burton, Mark Wahlberg, not classic, Planet of the Apes. Now, this movie is interesting. Like, it was like this movie is interesting. It was commercially successful. Like, on a budget of like $100 million, it did like $362 million. So It made a decent amount of money. Even after you factor in like what they would have had to do for promotions and stuff like that, it made a ton of money. So it's weird that we didn't get another one of these movies. But it turned out Tim Burton like hated making this movie. And a lot of other actors gave up like huge other roles to make this movie. Like, almost every main actor in this movie did something, like threw away a much larger project because they thought this was going to be huge.
Wow.
Like Tim Roth, who played Thade, the evil general.
Yeah.
I'm like, what franchise do you think he gave up? Him being British and another franchise that started just a year or two after this. It had 8 movies.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. He gave up being
He
Snape.
could have been Harry Potter.
He could have been Harry Potter. No, he was supposed to be Snape, and he passed on it.
I'm glad he passed on it. Alan Rickman was way better. Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Matt Damon's character in Ocean's 11 through 13, and he passed on that role. He was already signed on for it. He broke his contract with that role.
Dang.
Because he met with Tim Burton for 5 minutes, and he was like, he just really wanted to work with Tim Burton. So
way
that's
to go,
insane.
Marky Mark.
Yeah, I mean, his career turned out fine though. So
yeah,
he's fine.
He's doing great. He's
and then
doing
this
those
is the
awesome
movie.
Transformers movies. Those are amazing.
Transmorphers.
Stupid movies all the time.
Yep. But this is also the movie where Tim Burton decided he was going to start banging Helena Bonham Carter. Like, that's where they got together on this one. So, interesting behind the scenes stuff. I feel like a lot of mistakes were made. So, do you want to summarize this one, or do you want me to do it?
No, I don't want to.
All right. So, in a nutshell, this movie starts in outer space, and there's a chimpanzee in a flight simulator, and like it crashes, and Mark Wahlberg's like, "Come on, I'm from Boston. What are you doing?"
Oh, by the way, after watching this movie, Mark Wahlberg is in no position to coach anyone on how to fly one of these space pods because he crashes 2 of them.
Yes, he did.
In real life.
Yeah, he did. In real. Yeah, not in a simulator. So
he sucks at flying those things.
So he's like, "Come on, guys. What are you doing?" That's my best Mark Wahlberg impression.
Sound just like him.
Good. So
say hi to your mother for me. Like, what is that?
So he is like, "Man, Monkey, you're my best friend, and I love you." And he, like, for whatever reason, they pick up this like weird storm interference, and he like goes up to the captain. He's like, "Let me go," and he's like, "No, dude, that's what we've got the goddamn chimpanzees for. Why am I going to send out a human?"
My question there too is, does anyone have to go?
Yes.
Okay.
They said like they've got some weird thing that they're supposed to, because they were picking up frequencies through it.
Yeah.
They were picking up communication. So because there was communication coming through it, they had to investigate it.
Okay.
So he's like, "Come on, put me in, coach." And the captain's like, "No, dude, I'm not going to send a human out there when I can send a chimp. That's what we have them for." And Mark Wahlberg's like, "This is stupid." Not like, just like Seth Brundle, not realizing what the apes are for in science. It's so you don't have to do this super dangerous stuff.
Totally.
So the ape goes missing. So he decides like, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and save this one chimpanzee." Gets caught in this electrical storm and crashes. Meanwhile, like they kind of do some foreshadowing, and by foreshadowing I mean like they basically tell you exactly what's going to happen. Is you see the transmission, and you see the guy who plays the captain like super old saying like, "Mayday, mayday, we crashed on this planet." So totally giving away the twist ending, or one of the 2 twist endings. So Mark Wahlberg ends up crashing on this planet, and he has a ship that has a time like screen that it shows him like traveling in the future. Like you just see the year going from like 2054 up to like 3000 something or other. And
he
crashes into this. I think that was just there because there was a time like module on in the original movie.
Yeah.
Because in the original movie they specifically say they're tracking Earth time and their time.
Right.
It's different. So in the original movie, it made sense to have that. In this one, it didn't really make sense for him to have like a time dial.
Like it starts going
It's
haywire.
Yeah, moving forward. He crashes into like this lake and gets out of this like ship, and immediately he just sees like these humans like running away, and he's just like, "What's going on, guys?"
Again, his signature line in the movie.
I'm thinking this might sound a little bit more like Jay Leno than Mark Wahlberg.
Kinda.
So he ends up running with them. They get captured by all these apes, and like these apes are like much more ape-like. Like they're swinging from trees, they're jumping like 20, 30 feet.
Yeah.
Like there's no fucking way a human could fight one of these things.
No,
like,
dude, no way.
Even like a chimpanzee, like if you and I had to fight a chimpanzee together,
we would probably die.
We would lose. Like they're 10 times stronger than us.
They go faces off, our
they
fingers
rip
off,
our dicks
and our
off.
dicks off. In that order. It would be a fucking mess. You remember that one lady like a couple of years back that got mauled by her bed? Ripped her damn face off, dude, and
Katrina,
her fingers.
I actually watched a documentary about like apes gone bad. Like, they're fucking dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Just public service announcement for all our listeners: don't get pet chimpanzees.
Not if you like having a dick and fingers and a face.
So anyway, he gets captured, and Paul Giamatti's character Limbo is like selling all these humans. And Thade, played by Tim Roth, is like, I'm here to buy a human for my, little niece.
For his child. Yeah.
And then
his niece.
I don't remember exactly how, I can't remember her name. Ari comes around, but Helena Bonham Carter is like, oh, look we should be nice to these people. Like, they're actually a lot smarter than we think. And everyone's like, nah, dude, humans are fucking stupid. So she like goes right up to like the cage, and Mark Wahlberg like captures her, and he's like, help me. And then she's like, oh, he is smart. I'm going to help him out. So she buys him and Estella Warren's character, which I have no idea what her name is. But
yeah,
she's the super hot Canadian synchronized swimmer Olympian.
Yeah, why is she even in this movie?
I don't know, because she wanted to be an actor.
Oh. Okay.
And she's hot, so they were like, well, we might as well give her a chance. She's hot, so, we can put her on the screen.
It was just really distracting.
Yeah. So they take her, and like, there's no them getting to know the humans and the apes at all. It's just like he is with like another gorilla who seems to be like a servant, but he used to be like a general in the army at some point. And he's just like telling him like, you need to be a slave now. And they're having like a dinner, and they're like talking about how apes should be and how they should destroy all the apes. And somehow Mark Wahlberg escapes, and he goes and gets like all the humans, and they run away. And it's just them running away in multiple scenes for a good half an hour. Or like, no progress is really made. It's just like they run through the city, and then they're in the jungle, and then they run in the jungle, and then they go across the water, and then they go to the spaceship, and then they're like, oh no, here are the apes again. And then they run away, and they find this river, and they're able to get across the river because they have horses, because the apes won't cross the river, but they will if they've got horses. They are able to take some horses, which... By the way, where the fuck did these horses come from?
I don't know. There was a lot of them, too.
There were a lot of horses. This is not... We find out later that this is not Earth. This is just another planet. We find out that all the life on this planet came from crashing. It's like, why would you have horses in outer space?
I don't know. Space horses.
It doesn't make any sense. So It doesn't make any sense that there are horses here.
None at all.
So they end up
also, why make them horses? Like, you could have made them some kind of, like, alien creature,
That would have made so much more sense.
Fuck.
Man, why don't we write movies?
I don't know.
Man. Because we don't have time. So where was I at? So they get across the river, and then they go and find like the space station that Mark Wahlberg was on, and he realizes he's like, oh fuck, I'm in the future.
God, again, dead on. Wahlberg.
And in the meanwhile, like, Thade is just being like, I think we should exterminate them all, and he goes to like Ari's father, who's like a senator, who's like, give me martial law, man, like, just let me do it. And the senator's like, all right, fine.
But like, why does he even need martial law? Like, just give me a bunch of guys to go kill him is all he's really asking for.
Yeah, right. So then Thade goes to his dad, whose name is Zaius, which is the bad guy in the original movie, and is played by Charlton Heston. And he reverses some of the lines, so he says like, damn them all to hell. Then he tells Thade that the humans were actually used to be the masters, and the apes were, the slaves, and that the apes overthrew them, and kind of thing like that. And it's just really rough, just really quick, just to get Charlton Heston to have a cameo and then say reverse his lines.
Terrible movie.
So they go and they have like this final battle, and they like set it up where they're gonna use. There's just a little bit of fuel left in the rockets, and after 3,000 years, these rockets are still able to start, which is amazing.
Well, they said it's got nuclear power.
Oh, okay, I missed that because I didn't care.
It's running on an infinite power supply.
Oh, nice.
Except the fuel.
Except the fuel. Yeah, that's convenient. So he uses like the rockets, and he kills like 100 apes in one go with that, and then they like battle. And like this part drove me crazy because it's like these apes are supposed to be super strong, like, and you just see humans like overpowering.
Even
like,
if they're
like
regular
one-on-one
strengths, you can't overpower them. They're too strong.
And they totally get overpowered a lot. Like, and there are way more apes than there are humans, so there's no way the humans would have ever won. But then
another question I have though with this movie is when they have all the apes, right? And all the apes are there because they were on the spaceship.
Correct.
Okay. Why did they have gorillas?
Or orangutans?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Gorillas are just really huge and dangerous.
They need a ton of calories to like maintain them.
But they're not used for science, are they?
Typically not, no.
No. Just like horses.
No. The only thing I can think of, and this is going to be like the same thing, like why are we having to write the movie after seeing it, is maybe this was like a colonization mission and there's like a Noah's Ark type situation.
So you
they
need
had
a population of gorillas as soon as you land?
But right, but then where are like lions and cats and dogs and stuff like that?
Yeah, where are cows? Where are pigs? Like where's stuff you eat? Where's chickens?
Yeah, so once again, this doesn't make any sense. Like that doesn't even hold up. Like there's no rhyme or reason to
this
it.
Shit.
Yeah, fuck it.
Damn.
So they have this battle, and then another spaceship comes down, and it's the ape from the beginning of the movie. Like he actually went through the storm somehow, even though he went through the storm first.
He's the smartest character in this fucking movie. He can also land the pod. He's a better pilot than Marky Mark.
Yeah. So he lands it, and he like runs into like the little spaceship because it's familiar, and Thade chases him in there, and Thade fights Mark Wahlberg, and the ape tries to help him out. I think his name was Pericles.
Pericles, yeah.
And he like Thade throws him, and Mark's like, "Oh no, Pericles!"
Yeah.
And so they fight, and Thade ends up getting the gun, but conveniently ends up in this like area that has a door that can close, like a blast door.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Wahlberg's like, blast door, closes him in, and so he like fires the gun, and it ricochets, and he gets all scared and cowers into the corner.
And then he does it a lot more.
He does it a lot more, and then he cowers again. So Mark Wahlberg goes to outside, and he's like, look guys, like it's done. And Michael Clark Duncan, who's like the super religious guy, is like, dude, this is our god, he's back. Like this is a sign, like humans and apes should be like tight. And so it just ends, and he's like, Mark Wahlberg's like, I gotta go back into outer space. And so he goes to Estella Warren, who he has known for like a day or so, and like just like psychologically just messes with her by kissing her and making it think that there's a bigger deal there than there is, and then leaves. Like, how do you go up to some woman, kiss her, and just be like, I'm leaving forever?
I don't know.
It's fucked up, man. But he does it. It's pretty rapey. Leaves, and then crashes again, like you pointed out earlier. Crashes again on Earth, but this Earth, like he lands by the Lincoln Memorial, and you see it looks like Thade, and then there's like a description in the back that says like, Thade rescued us from the humans, blah 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 blah. And all these police cars show up, and you see like gorillas and all these other apes coming, and then the movie just ends. Like that's the second twist ending kind of thing. And then it's just like, I remember thinking that was really cool when I was younger, but now I'm just like, this raises even more questions than anything.
Yeah, dude, this is just bad.
Like the time, like how did Thade go back in time? So he took the functioning ship. So there's a broken ship in the water, which they have already said that apes will not go in the water. So that's the other ship, unless there are other uncrashed pods on that ship, maybe. But he gets in a ship, somehow learns how to fly it, goes back in time through the storm, which, how does that storm work? Like, if it's one way you go to the past, one way you go to the future?
Well, that's the thing. Why does he think it's going to return him to his time? When it sent, the last time we went into it, it sent him to a totally random place in time. Right?
Yes.
So
I don't know, man.
Why do you I'll just fly back in and I'll go back.
You got to try something.
Like, what, you got to go in it in reverse and then you go back? Like, it doesn't make fucking any kind of sense. This dude's a scientist.
It's like in Ferris Bueller when like they try to run the odometer or the odometer in reverse by just having the car in reverse. Like, that's not how it works, man.
It's stupid.
But yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Why is fucking Thade in the other world?
Yeah, how did he get there and when? Because presumably, like, that's set up in like
maybe it's like other dimensions.
Maybe,
but
it's possible, but they don't.
Again, we're having to write this damn movie,
break it apart. Well, and the thing is, like, looking online, like nobody is really explained. So what they ended up doing is it actually is time. So I guess I tried to find it online, but I couldn't find it. But there is a timeline that, because so many people were confused in theaters, in the DVD they had a fold out timeline that it shows what happened. But it's like, once again, they just going through the electrical storm. How would he go back further in time? Like, you'd have to go back at least several like, it doesn't make any sense. He would have to go back at least several thousand years before, because it takes time to do the evolution. So if he just went back and like took a bunch of apes from, and in the time frame that like Lincoln was around, there weren't really any apes in the United States. They would have all been in like Africa and South America and Asia. So like, how did the apes, rise, unless he somehow built a bigger ship and brought a bunch of big apes with him and just took over the earth? Like, that doesn't make sense. And same thing, I actually had a bigger problem with the evolution in this movie, because this one they say is actually his time things doesn't work, but they say it like apparently it's 3,000 years in the future, which once again is not enough time to evolve. And this one, the radiation's taken out of the equation. Like, how did they evolve from just apes as we have them on the planet today to fully sentient, dominant species, basically furry humans?
It's entirely unexplained.
In 3,000 years. It doesn't make sense.
It's stupid.
And then to kind of comment on what you said earlier, like I did like the mannerisms, like the patting and the petting and the, when they get scared, jumping back and making the noise and stuff like that. Like that I appreciated. And then like I did think it was kind of funny when like the Paul Giamatti's ape is like hanging upside down and it looks like he's just looking in a mirror, but then he drops petals and like, oh, he's hanging upside down, and like that weird monkey sex scene. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, like it's building the world, but. So there is that monkey mannerism, but they ride horses. Once again, where do the horses come from? They walk upright, and sometimes, they ride horses.
Unless they run.
Unless they're running. It seems weird that they've evolved to wear like human-like clothing, and the way they walk, like it's weird that they still do that weird waddle. And not all of them did it. Like some of the apes actors were like walking like they're like how apes we see nowadays, like chimpanzees walk, kind of that weird straddle.
Yeah.
Like, if they were riding horses and sitting in chairs and all this stuff, like their hips would have evolved to walk normal like ours did.
Yeah, probably.
It doesn't make any sense.
None of it makes any goddamn sense.
These movies.
Let's
see.
Yeah, whatever.
They reverse the line. Like Michael Clark Duncan says, "Get your damned hands off me, you dirty human!" Like
okay,
poking fun at it. Man, there's nothing.
There's nothing redeeming about this, dude.
And like the technology, they have no technology. They have less technology than in the original one.
Yeah,
they don't even have guns.
Some way it seemed more consistent,
Yeah, that makes sense.
It wasn't this
with, like,
weird
no
mishmash
guns.
of bullshit.
Yeah.
It was just like the
mishmash kind of makes sense a little bit in the fact that like they just have what they've found.
Maybe,
but it's weird. Like they've got some guns and everything. It's weird that they don't have like cars and stuff. And this one, like it's very primitive. The one thing I do got to say is the apes are amazing. Like the prosthetics, the makeup, they're fucking fantastic. Like they look like humanoid apes. Yeah. Like every single one of them. They look amazing.
The armor
terrifying.
looks cool too. Like
oh yeah, the whole outfits are good. Like this movie's, it's weird for being a Burton movie. Doesn't look very Burton-esque like at all.
Not really.
And I don't know if it's because he came into the game late. Like they were trying to remake this like movie from like the 80s on. Like at one point it was Christopher Columbus was going to do it. Like a bunch of different huge directors were going to do it, and they just kept getting shut down. But man,
it's just bad.
Even going to the ape characters, you have Helena Bonham Carter as Ari. There wasn't a lot to her. It was just like she was the one who helped him, but there was no... Other than that, saying like, "Oh, humans are not bad" and everything like that. You had like the one like child played by Deep Roy was like, "You're a human lover," but like that was all they were given. And then for whatever reason, Thade is in love with her, but there's no real reason for them to like each other. Like they're polar opposites.
Yeah, they have nothing in common. They have like very opposing belief systems. Like
it's weird.
It's super weird.
And then Michael Clark Duncan. I think Michael Clark Duncan's character. I can't remember what his name is. Like Artar.
Okay.
Was pretty cool. Like I liked the religion who's like bow your heads at dinner and everything. Like I think he was the most interesting character, and then he flips and is like becomes kind of good at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But other than that, like none of the apes. I think Limbo, played by Paul Giamatti, was like the only one that was like a fleshed out character.
Yeah, he's the only one with
like he was pretty
arc.
good.
He
and
changes throughout the movie.
He changes throughout. Like initially it's just for survival, but then he realizes like humans are capable. And what's weird about this one is the humans all talk. Like in the original one, they don't talk. So I can understand why they think that they're superior, but in this one, like they do talk.
No,
like why would they think they're not intelligent?
That, but also like then when like they find the space pod or whatever, and Marky Mark's leaving, and Paul Giamatti's got like all this stuff, and he's like, "Oh, now we can trade all this human stuff or trade with the humans. Who wants some aspirin?" It's like, how do you know what that is?
Yeah, both of these movies actually bothered me that they still speak English.
Yeah,
like. Even if you go, like, you can just look at how slang has changed in our lifetime. Like, we talk drastically different than our humans. Our parents spoke in the, 70s, 80s. And then you go, even 100 years back, the way we wrote and spoke is drastically different. And, like, when you look at even, like, Shakespeare stuff, like, it's so different that you have to almost like get those annotated versions of these books to really understand what he's talking about. Like 500 years, your language is drastically different. The speech patterns, everything, to like 3,000 years, and they speak exactly the same type of English that we speak now.
Dumb.
Fucking idiots. These writers suck.
Dumb.
I got nothing else to say about this movie. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, I don't
fuck them both. I definitely think I liked the 1968 one better than this one, but it was a chore.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. Not my thing. I don't know, man.
I love the new movies though. So we picked these movies specifically because the War for the Planet of the Apes is out now. It just came out a couple of days ago. I'm definitely excited to see that one. I love the new ones. I love what Matt Reeves have done with the second. I don't think he did the first one, but I love the new movies. I'm really excited. I definitely think that I can see why they wanted to reboot the Planet of the Apes. Like, it is an interesting concept. So I definitely think they should have rebooted it. I just think the reboot that we got in 2001 was not very good.
Yeah.
Like, visually, it was amazing. Like, if we took the visuals and had a more interesting, more concrete story, it would have been great.
Yeah.
Like, I love what we're getting now. Like, I'm really excited. I'm going to go see the new one. Hopefully Wednesday, I'm going to go see the new one. And I'm really, really excited. Woody Harrelson. Got Andy Serkis. I'm excited.
It'll almost certainly be better than both of these.
Oh, it definitely will. The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the second one, is amazing. Like, I almost cried in that movie. It was amazing.
Shit.
It's fucking great. Have you not seen the new ones?
No, I have. They're okay. They're fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go watch
better
it.
than
But
these.
other than... Oh, way better. So that's it. Thank you guys for listening to Remake Rewind. You can check us out at MDXpods.com. We're on Facebook, and we are also on Instagram and Twitter at MDXpods. Also, check out our other podcast, Ruin My Childhood, starring myself and Kat. Dustin actually did a guest spot on that a couple weeks back. He did an episode of The Sandlot, which was awesome. It was one of my favorite episodes so far. So thank you, Dustin, for doing that.
Hey, thanks for having me on that one.
Man, you're welcome.
What a guy.
You're the guy, man. You took busy time out of your schedule and did it, and fucking delivered some of the best jokes we've had on that series.
Dang.
So anyway, thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Patreon if you want to help us out. Check us out on Twitter, and yeah, that's it. Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot.